shittings. Itchy. Well, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And goes to here. Alright. Itchy head, itchy scalp. My back hurts. At least I can hear out of the side of my ear. And we are a go on all platforms. Okay. Before anybody fucking asks, yes, I'm aware that it's been at least 3 Sundays. That's what happens when there's only one of you and you have to work on something that is that important to your livelihood. It is what it is. Today, despite my numbering schema for my thumbnails, is actually episode 52. Which means, with 52 Sundays, and at least several different moments of coverage, it has been a full year-long anniversary of what I have tentatively been calling the Yap-In. Still don't like that name, which is why things that will be changing coming soon will come into effect in September. For people who are part of the smart part of the audience, the mystery mouse tool will reveal itself in the future. But put your ear to the ground, and you might be able to divine what comes next. It's gonna be a second. I gotta let people get in here. All shittings. Yes, we are live at most connections. Yep. Yes, it has been a full year. Zulian is now 3.5. That's what happens. You look away. You say, oh, I'm just going to tune in whenever I feel like it. And you miss an entire year. Nothing I can do about that. Who's checking me instead of relaxation lounge? I see. Alright. There are plenty of things on my docket. However, not all of those things are interesting to me. Suffice to really say, I am not a fan of the disseminated timeline that basically is most of Twitter's news coverage. What I put in the thumbnail, I will be covering. However, bro, there are some things that aren't important, and so many things are like super not fucking important. But because I've been tagged in it, at least one of them I'll be going over, specifically because the individual in question decided it'd be a smart idea to try and antagonize and stalk people like me. Anthony Edward West. You really should pick better enemies. Pick better enemies. Get you a snow bunny that will tell you to stop doing dumb shit that can put your black ass in danger. Pick better friends. Because, man, it more or less went past multiple people's radars with the exception of the one person I tagged in it. Because it was hilarious when I found it. But when you have people walk up to you and effectively say, "Isn't this a fun picture to look at?" And you decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to become friends with people who specialize in being retards. You're going to saddle up to Audley Noah. His reputation's dog shit now. A bunch of people that people have never heard of because, of course, they're not people who use the media platform. Anthony Gramullia. How quick did he turn his spawn on Audley Noah? And all of it comes down to the fact that you decided to disseminate what you thought was the smartest thing you could do, which was threatening to put a man in the poorhouse by litigiously excuse me, threatening him with a lawsuit. And then sending your own audience to come attack you because how dare a black man defend somebody who clearly has done nothing wrong. And then you just start following afoul of attacking all the people who you think keep up with your ass like that. I don't even keep up with your ass like that. Because I was the first of many to notice your turn years back. Because it was pretty obvious to me that all of this was in service of eventually doing the same thing that Graham Cracker's done. Anti-Griffenders, they called you. The Anti-Griffenders. We avenge those that have been grifted upon. Here's a question. Who's Samuel L. Jackson in this situation? Who's Nick Fury? Anyone at all know who Nick Fury is in this situation? Because I'm pretty sure it's FD Signifier. You decided to pick on people that you thought were too small to fight back. And what ended up happening is it went from, I'm attacking people, back in January, a post that is now unavailable, by the way, Kappa, probably because the account is an Indian account. Let me check. This came from Austin Carley, Austin Kennedy. No, this account is American. So this is not one of the regions that I can block now. Oh, there's also a tool that lets you block accounts on Twitter based on region, so you never have to see them show up on your timeline. It is called Exposed. You can find it inside of any Chromium browser. It shows you flags, it shows you device icons, it shows you whether or not the person may or may not be using a VPN indicator, a VPN proxy, and allows you to not only block based on the country, but also to block based on the region of the world. It is a beautiful application. But this post, posted by this user, it's one of those Discord glitches. This post, made by users like this, making posts like these, where you make everything about woke, 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 woke. It is beautiful how quickly that's come to bite you in the ass. It's like a 1-2-3 punch. It's hilarious. Posts from January now coming up in the timeline because the algorithm's been fucked with yet again, but making it that easier for people to keep up with shit like this. Anthony, for you to go and do all this shit, and then, lest we forget, because I know he probably would have, as did many of these users, because that's what they did, for your users to demonstrate that they didn't actually watch the material content posted on my channel, because you were too busy trying to thumbnail scan the first piece of it, to actively bragging about questioning whether or not I'm a black man that deserves to have the right to question someone, and saying that you're not even engaging and moving with it for 5 months ago. Let's see here. Is there any coverage about any of this shit recently whatsoever? Ah, here we are. Bergman's a doxer. Bergman's a dangerous minor. Do they have any evidence for the claims? And the video's just, it's there. It's just there. It's already posted. It's just public. It's just literally there. Oh, that other shit you did the other week. Oh, remember when you said, these motherfuckers, they're running from people like me. You need to let me on your show, Piers Morgan. Do you remember that, Anthony? Anthony. Mr. West, do you remember when you did that shit too? Hey, here's an idea, Anthony. Really, really important. Really big one. Very, 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 very important. Okay? The next time that you decide to attack people, calling them Doxoflex and the Legion of Losers, I suggest a very simple idea. Don't pick fights with people who keep documentation and records. Because I already told Jay. Jay didn't give a response because I think she was trying to focus on making a reaction to the trailer for Doomsday. You have attacked so many people on the internet. So has Granola Snack Bar. And so have the people hiding underneath the purse skirts of Granola Snack Bar. You cannot now shift away and say nothing about what's been discussed. Because now, just like the shit that just happened 5 days ago involving Skitty Bitty, trying to go after Octopus Reviews, trying to antagonize harmful opinions. You've got minors in a Discord server, allegedly tagged in the Discord server, with you showing them and linking to them porn. There's at least 2 videos from this person that has been posted on the internet, and you have been trying to ignore those threads, which then causes more people to bring it to people's attention. It's at least been brought to mine. Let's see here. Through mentions. Let's see here. Mentions. Here is the first link that was sent to me by Justin Harless. These are more recent. Should be further back than this. Yeah, and here's the other one. And then the one that I had me and Kino talking. And then, yeah, here we go. The first one. So we've got you doxing a cancer patient because you thought that you found the right person on the timeline. Here. Then, your alleged response claiming that you didn't dox Yellow Flash, but you did. And then the follow-up where the server was openly linked and then people actively tagging and talking and posting, actively tagging people like KinoFlex, as well as others tagging me on the side myself. And all that time and energy and mouth that you put in to attack both myself and Jay and KinoFlex and Jan and several other people, suddenly now you don't have any time to talk about it. That's weird. No, I've seen the Southpaw shit. The Southpaw shit was something I told EFAP to look into. Fortunately, I didn't have to do that. Or, rather, Mahler didn't have to do that, because Nicholas Diorio dug into it himself. I know that discourse. I precipitated that discourse myself. Specifically because that's how far he wanted to go. Listen, you tried to take it there, I took it further. You thought you're playing chess, I'm fucking your wife. You don't have a wife. But your metaphorical wife. I'll do you one worse. I'm not the one fucking her. Star's the one fucking her. I'm just holding the camera. I'm just holding the camera. It's weird, man. Because I learned the other day from one of the Discord members that Foggy.exe of the Op Block and the entire Op Block channel basically fell off the face of the earth. And I was surprised. I'm like, what? Huh? Really? That's crazy. What happened? And Tusky broke it down to me, and I'm like, wow. Am I just surrounded by a bunch of fucking burnouts and lolcows? And apparently the answer is yes. And it's weird. Because every single time I or other people clock this kind of shit, it doesn't get noticed unless somebody else of a bigger size talks about it. Because, again, just to go back, they lie about people like myself. They don't watch the content, they don't watch the videos, they talk shit at a distance. Then they brag that they block accounts and they block content without actually listening and watching. Because, as I said here, yes, you guys were hate watching my channel. So, any views that came through came from them covering and watching what I was saying, and suddenly, when things were not being discussed the way that they wanted them discussed, they were very, very angry and stopped talking entirely. No responses whatsoever. Skull, 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 skull. No. Skull, skull, skull. No. Skull, skull, skull. No. Skull, skull. Here we go. So, all the way back, when obvious defender accounts, if not alternative flags, were yapping at me loudly, going here. Back when users like this, the users such as Deuteronomous, were yapping loudly on content, saying, "Why are you speeding up the video? Why are you clipping it out of context?" All of a sudden, after 3 specific separate pieces of content. It's missing the third one here for some reason. I don't know why it's missing it. But, no, I probably remember why it is. But, 5 months back, when I covered this, and I kept up on it, and I pointed out, hey, you're lying about this person. Hey, you're so ass mad about being clip farmed on the live from Asmongold that you've locked down the comments on your channel after you tried to talk shit about Asmongold, trying to clip farm on him, got farmed instead, and have been hiding behind a wall since. And just to be accurate, we're going to double check to see live right now to see if that's still the case.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your friend.
And it is. And it is. Only subscribers and members can comment. For someone who allegedly is all about covering and exposing the grift. And for people like Anthony Gramuglia, trying this shit on, I guess, not people like myself and not people like Jay, but on people like Harmful Opinions and Remnant 777, and getting dog-walked by both. For people who are supposed to teach people how to, quote, expose the grift, both of you, by the textbook playbook, have demonstrated not only how you have failed your audiences, but how you have tricked them. Because number one, you have misled them on what a grifter is. And number two, by working with Otterly Noah, you have demonstrated the exact reason why people should not listen to people like the two of you, and why we constantly antagonize you on Twitter about it, and make you walk through the door of your shame. Because you tell people that other people who are not grifters are grifters. So you try to do subterfuge. You tell your audiences to go into their audiences. You tell your communities to go into that person's Discord and into their communities. You actively put a spotlight on top of them, and you antagonize them. Because realistically, what you mean by grifter is person I don't like and whose content I want you to never watch. So that that person, having been said as a undesirable, no longer has the ability to have the chance to grow, because no one wants to get put in this position by, I don't even want to say politically left, because it's not a left-wing thing at this point. Because leftist does not describe the kind of person who does this. It's the kind of shit-souled troglodyte that goes out of their way to be a bully because they know that they can be a bully as long as the target that they're bullying doesn't have the chance to counterpunch. It's like binding somebody's hands behind their back in Shibari so they don't have the chance to actually unbind their hands so they can defend themselves. And you try to use them like whipping boys. There's an entire discourse of this happening politically right now over with Wick TV. Look into the Wick Destiny, Total Destiny Death discourse for that one. We're not talking about that one right now. But it's very much the same as that. You've got an entire contingency of snarkers and of content creators who basically postulate on camera, navel-gazing, about what somebody else's political views are, and what they mean, and how they're ontologically wrong, and how their takes are incorrect, and are objectively inconsiderate, if not off the margin, about how criticisms work, and how they should be done. And from the example of Remnant, and from the example of myself and Jay, and from the example of Otterly Noah, trying to fuck with Glesto through the thumbnail artist, only to be revealed live on camera that he is a fucking retard, and all that to blow up in the mouth of both Aloha Snack Bar and yours, and but also, especially, with what you tried to do to Cleanoflex, and ever since then, the flowers that he's gotten for having done it. And the shit that you tried to throw at me for giving him the opportunity to talk back. All of these things are why it is a failure. Because you are not only doing your own grift, but you are then teaching people to do the same shit that you criticize the, quote, anti-woke for doing. Which is effectively navel-gazing at rhetoric and patterns, and by using pattern recognition, deciding to just basically host a troll army against people. And at no point in time are you ever accountable. No point in time do you go anywhere on tape, anywhere in front of a camera, to actually speak to and be confronted by your victims, or us, the victims, to be able to confront our abusers, accusers, and harassers. No. It's always through a block screen. It's always through a block screen. It's always through a block bar. It's always through some antagonistic competitive shit. And I am so fucking sick and tired of it. Lots of these things could be easily countered if bigger figures who are our friends, just like I did for complete strangers that I've gotten to know within the last 6 months, have done for me. Any of these people could just have stood up on their platforms and said, no, you guys are full of shit. And they haven't. Most of them haven't done it because they know that if they were to stand up and defend people, they'd get targeted next. Unfortunately, I think that's more cowardly. Something, 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 only thing evil needs to have done is for good men to do nothing, something, something, something. But it's more than that, right? At this point, the Birdman needs to be he needs to be tarred and feathered. He needs to be a point of discussion in front of the people, for the people who he clearly wants to get seen by, right? Because it's that ridiculous, you see. Because these are the types of creators that I cover whenever I choose to cover lolcow tipping, okay? Like the shit that happened to Turkey Tom and the people who tried to accuse him, and the majority of the forums themselves on the boards pushing back against those girls because it became very obvious that they were lying. The likes of that of Pirate Software, the likes of that of Dansburst Studios and people like that. All of these kinds of individuals, they usually get away with doing the shit that they do because only when they've been used up by whatever group they've been used up by do they ever get thrown to the wayside. In this situation, this shit happened literally within the span of a 6-month period. So, from my point of view, first I get attacked by a fucking Los Angeles failed voice actor. Then I get called a pedophile by an actual fucking pedophile hiding behind a VTuber avatar who recently got his account banned. So now he's back in the streets again under a new alias and a new identity, likely to try it again the next time he or somebody else comes across the path of somebody like Aimbot Amy and decides to track me into the middle of the conversation because I'm somebody who's so connected to most of the safety reports that are getting made that something that I offhandedly tweeted back in March gets brought back up again 2 months back. And this person, not knowing a damn thing about me, decides to say, oh yeah, that guy's a pedophile. And same day delivery, I ask you, hey, just apologize. Just apologize, and we're clean. I don't want to have to do the work to look into you. And they don't. So I gotta look into them, and I find out not just that they're a pedophile, but they're a deep-set pedophile that likes to groom the kids in the server while it happens. And all while that shit's happening, over on the wayside of the hard politics, there are people inside of the connections of WIT TV, more specifically the Flock server, and this has been going on for more than 6 months, this particular piece. I'm not going to name a lot of names, but there are 3 names that I can name directly, but I only am interested in naming one of those names right now. The account name of the user in question is known as Ashes' Creativity. But the entire Total Destiny death drama, the Pixie Law case that he's going through, that he's currently dealing with his litigation for, most of those liberal creators just came back from LibCon. They've already got drama going on that rivals VidCon 2017 and Carl Benjamin Sargon Vicad's, also known as Sargoy of Applebee's, garbage human moment when Anita attacked him on stage. And except in this case, Hassan was too much of a pussy to even be in the same auditorium as them, instead getting them ejected from the venue. In the entire time shit like that IRL's happening, and of course, the defenestration of John Ham himself, Gisticle, Geostalker, getting his shit pushed in by the big, fat Fudacock of Stardust IRL. the entire snark industry coming to its knees because so many of them are fucking retard lolcows as well, which, ironically, Morale finds himself here, and so does Aiden Underground, and so does Dickers, and so does Gisticle, and so does Kyle Rittenhouse, his editor, and so do fucking retards like Dickers, and more specifically people like fucking Queeman, for days on end. Where the snarkers foreign are getting their shit pushed in, you've got snarkers domestically, like that of Ash's creativity, having tried to worm their way into the communities of people like Wick for years on end. I noticed it over the course of 12 months, but then it's all started to come to a head 6 months ago. Users like this that I've named on this spot actively demonstrating that they're receiving information from members of the administration of the flock. The same two administrators that are effectively running a ring of activity and a ring of informational control, where they believe that if they run a ring of people that they can basically use as a dicks flattening squad, a dick suckering, if you will, a bully squad, if you will, a bandwagon, if you will. If they can be able to liaison hatred and antagonism and hazing from inside of the flock, utilizing these users, surrounded by this one administrator, that is then covered by the other administrator, and, oh, they just can't handle a rough and tumble environment, being code word for, we try to harass people out that we think don't deserve to be here, that revealed itself to be an entire discriminatory outsource created for and made by the hands of idiots like that of one Doobie that disconnected from this user because this one is internal. So, Snarker's foreign, Snarker's domestic. Look back at this for context from Zero Snark 30, which is a stream that was made by Wick. Actually, it was a video presentation, I think, actually. He did it as a stream, that he cut it into a video presentation. Where, in him trying to focus on the people who are trying to attack guests and hosts and members of his content, foreign, he's got an internal group of snarkers that have been there for years, domestically, actively trying to usurp control from the inside. I have talked to several different people, and I have interviewed several different people, who have all agreed that the issues that they have that are of conformity are of exactly what they are expected to be and are known to be. Which is, one, the people who are doing this inside of the flock are people who are reporting and then giving that asymmetrical warfare information to people that then attempt to use that to fight narratives publicly on the timeline. Secondly, and for this part I can put on screen, because this is publicly known information. First, I gotta go find it. First, I gotta go find it again. Users like that of Doobie will write entire campaigns and entire diatribes of things that they allegedly need people to say for them and do for them that has to do with, I think I reposted on the timeline, didn't I? Yes, I did. That has to do with information that was made public the day that Wick decided to change the rules of his Discord server to allow for people to be able to record and post information that would allow them to then give information to the important and alleged parties so that it could be able to better be aware of what's being said and being done. So that they aren't just being subterfuged on the side, randomly, by utter facetious lolcows that don't take accountability for their actions and effectively just lie, and lie constantly. Take me a second. Here we go. So, what I'm describing right now, what I'm telling you, is this. This meme of a paragraph, right here. This leftist meme of a paragraph comes from said user, a person that allegedly to who I'm going to refer to as the architect, a person who is now hiding out in these private invite-only Discord servers where they are infinitely snarking about all the people in question, away from the ones that are doing it publicly on broadcasts like Gisticle. You've got individuals like Doobie writing multi-thread disseminations of specifically how WikTV has a public justification for why he does what he does, and a private justification for why he does what he does. But in reality, what this actually is that there are three factions. There are the people who are with Destiny because they've been doxxed, stalked, harassed, harangued, constantly shit-sniped, constantly subterfuged, dealing with the problems of, like I said, asymmetrical warfare. As in, they're attacking from various different angles, and they're using justifications, like this justification here, where after the public justification for why Wix changes rules, he has a private justification for why people must be doing what they're doing. You have the pro-Wick snarkers, who we're going to call the Wickers, because that's what they are. Yes, it sounds exactly like what you think it sounds like on purpose. No, I did not make the name myself. You have the pro-Wick snarkers, the Wickers, who want things to stay the same, not change, and want to be able to basically say infinite slurs in private, but only if they're allowed to say those infinite slurs on behalf of those two administrative users, utilizing people like that of Ashes of Creativity in order to do the action. Now, I can prove that this user uses OSINT doxing tools, but I don't really have to prove that because it's the same information that was put out by one Jersh of the farms. Yes, Joshua Moon of the farms. That article that he wrote, How to Dox Anyone, that's what's been used in order to do it. People who are willing to put their name and their money and their registry on the line, submitting DCMA takedowns utilizing subsection 49 of the legal penal code, which does not require sanity checks, in order to basically subpoena your public information if you are a public content creator or a person who is posted on any platform whatsoever at all, especially if you've used Twitter Blue, because that means the platform actually has access to the information used to pay for your Twitter Blue, which then gives them access to your banking, or not access to your banking information, but access to the legal name that is attached to the card that you use, or the payment system that you use to pay for Twitter Blue, alongside everything else that's ever posted on your account, so that they can then be able to, for the low cost of $50, technically $49, some places like my magistrate court charges you $55, most places it's just $50, and just for the low price of $50, half $100, you can dox whoever you want, and then constantly try to manipulate information out of the legal system, specifically here, for me, my consolidated government, and my municipality, to be able to antagonize you, so that they can try to force you out of Wix community, because they think they have the right to. I've posted plenty of this information, I've talked about this before. Why would this person do that? What would provoke them to do that? Because they're mad that I'm relevant. Because they're mad that I zinged them specifically in a way they've never been zinged before. The honest answer, the real answer that they're not going to tell you, that will be debated live on camera, is that they didn't like that I didn't react shittily to them. They were mad that I didn't act scared, that I wasn't intimidated, and that I told them to suck a dick and fuck off. I have been doing a months-long at this point resource gathering campaign to give this information directly to Wick, and with this information we were able to source these three parties and have them removed from the Fractal servers that are in collaboration with my server as well. So, banned from my server, banned from several of these Fractal servers, and made notified and aware to the administrative services necessary of other Discords, but most especially turned over to Wick, and will be turned over more to Wick in the future, if more evidence and information comes out. All of this coming from friend of the channel, Alishness, who is the thumbnail artist that works with Digital Ground Game, Destiny.gg, Stephen Bunnell II specifically, Wick specifically, and also associated friend of the channel, Short Fat Otaku. And then you have the anti-Wickers, which is basically all of the other people I've already named. Gisticle, Morale, Aiden Underground, Dickers. Doobie technically fits that resource at this point because he's already left there and has been pushed out because it's just become known how crazy they are. And for examples of that, look no further than the timeline. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of examples on the timeline. In fact, this very discussion that I'm having here, that this comes from, this discussion that I'm having here comes from such an argument where people are attempting to deny the evidence of the knowledge. And, as you can see, here's Alish just talking about it. Here's me referring to some of the people in question. Food shops, Donald Torres Burgos, Wick himself, on the Torres timeline, plenty of it, freely, equally provable, frequently, evenly broadcasted public information. People all know what this is. Everybody knows where it's happening. Example of food shops actively counter-sniping them and counter-snarking them, which has led to very notable, high-profile individuals choosing to follow, associate, and keep up with the likes of people like myself. And this is not the only bit of information I have. I have more, but I'm not putting that information out there right now. But all of this I have specifically from this Parasocial Connections, because this individual, again, ashes of creativity, demonstrated to me that information is being provided words are hard. Being provided publicly as well as privately. I've shown examples on camera of that before. It shouldn't need to come back up again. We'll do that up again. But in this case, they demonstrated that they had information that could have only have been given to an administrative level service, because I was literally in the room where that information was given when it happened. They admitted openly that they got it from administrative sources, namely one of the two administrators. And then weeks later, after 14, 15 days, the last time I mentioned this, when I had to explain that this doxing had occurred, from the other administrator actively creating a dossier where they're trying to keep note of my information and my docs for the purposes of swatting me, as well as keeping a dossier of how best to antagonize, harass, and troll me, alongside several other content creators who have also been doxed and harassed and snarked by these individuals, both the pro and anti-Wickers. In connection with all this shit, they all also tie back to you, Birdman. You know how I know that? Because they tie back to Anthony Gramiglia. You know how we all know that? What did you guys just almost get finished getting caught trying to do, like, a month and a half ago to Callisto? That's right. That's how far my hands reach. I hear everything. I see everything. I know about half of everything. And then I've heard rumors about the other half. I just choose not to say things. I just choose to be quiet. You know why? It's more effective that way. It all goes back to the auditor. That's exactly right. So, I know all of these things because I just simply followed the money. I followed the information, and also, that kind of documentation goes on record with the fucking state. You absolute blithering retard. The next time I see another OSINT tool being used against any person who I know of, not only am I going to turn it over to them, I'm going to blow you out live on camera. Then, I'm going to do the exact methodology that you've been using. I'm going to do it on camera. I'm going to submit the information. Then when I get the information, I'm going to sue your ass in fucking court. I will take you to the magistrate court. I will take you to petty claims court. I will then, with that result of what will more than likely be a default judgment, because you're more than likely not going to listen to the summon, and you're going to refuse the call. When I win that case, I'm then going to apply for a subsection 59 form notice that goes alongside the DMCA, along with the necessary sanity checks, so that the next time you try to call my local sheriff and police department accusing me of any of the things that you've tried to accuse me of, I'm going to send you to jail. To jail! It's not a game. This is not a game. It's not a game. Nothing I just said is a bluff. Try me if you want to. You think the shit going on with Doobie's hilarious? Don't let me get in this narrative. Don't let me get in this narrative. Unrestricted and uncontrolled access on a microphone will be the most dangerous thing to your health and your life that you will have ever done in your life. Yes, they know. Yes, they know everything. Yes, including that one. Yes, including that one too. Yes, including that one too, where in that room with Zonia, you thought you knew everything, and Zonia had to tell you. Actually, no, they did blatantly say that in their face. Yes. I didn't have to record any of that. Did I have the mind to? Oh, yes, I did. But I didn't have to record any of it. You know why? Because there are people turning against you because they don't like you. They really don't like the people that you think are your friends. They don't like you enough that they've come to me. All that postulating, all that attitude, all that antagonism. And where does it bring y'all? Back to me. And my nappy head ass. This is a one-time warning. Actually, no. Last time I said that was a one-time warning, but I said that specifically to the pro wickers. I'm saying this collectively across the board. This is a one-time warning. Do not make me get out of this chair. Do not make me get out of this chair. You're gonna be mad when I start doing calisthenics with your fucking mid waist. Do not make me get out of this chair. Let me stay over here with my video games, my white woman, my white chocolated child, stepchild technically, my video games and my lolcows and the internet drama and keeping up with internet drama. Let me stay over here. Do not make me become a political figure. I don't want to be. I literally had a conversation the other day with my Xitter, who occasionally cops some of my content. I don't want to be in politics. I don't want to do political content. But if it is the necessary case that I have to put my fucking foot in as many John Brown hindquarters as possible, you gonna get real fucking upset if I gotta keep up with the Joneses and give that nigga a phone call and tell him that the Johnsons is getting raped by his son in the corner of the room because every fucking Tom, Dick, Harry, Sarah Sue, and Susie Q wanted to keep up with the Joneses, but they didn't want to notice what was going on and notice there was something wrong with the Johnsons. I've been clocked to shit. I just chose to say nothing because I'd rather present everything together in a digestible format where you can't deny the information and where people can hear your voice publicly. I'm sitting on it. I'm sitting on the TNT. I have been for months. The only reason I have not pulled the trigger on this C4 charge is because Wick asked me not to and asked me to wait. But I'm not going to let you, Ashes of Creativity, and other users who are using OSINT doxing tools, where you think that you're slick and you're not, actively try to manipulate things in private. The reason I am saying your name publicly is because you are sitting behind anonymity, hiding behind the purse skirts of other people that are giving you the idea that you're safe because they have the ability to erase logs inside of the flock, and erase timestamps, and erase chat rooms, and control what's being said and where, and more importantly, talking about what's going on in tickets. I don't know why the fuck you would tell somebody who does not like you that you are actively getting information from a person who's not only supposed to upkeep and maintain the standard, but is supposed to set the standard. Thank you! Thank you for giving me a sword to stab you with! I'm not going to use that this time. But if I get off this chair, you can't see it, but I'm smiling. And the main reason why I'm not turning on the camera is because I'm shirtless. I'm too lazy to put on a shirt. So give me 1 second. I need a camera. I am begging you with tears in my eyes. Please keep fucking around. Please. Please. Okay? Okay. The reason there are multiple shirtless car shorts is because I wake up and I record most of my content in batches. The reason I wake up at the time I do and record them in batches is because people will not let me fucking sleep. Anyways. That's the Birdman down. And a little bit more shit about that fucking discourse. Let's talk about something actually fun. Burpee. Which is to say, Dee Dee Magno Hall. Did you know that people have been crashing out that the voice actress that worked inside of Steven Universe has allegedly been outed as potentially a MAGA supporter? Well, yep, right here. Well, on top of some answers and questions that I have about people basically insinuating specifically that they would have never supported the show, they would have never supported the content. Get a little bit closer here. They would have never supported the show, they would have never supported the content, they would have never been a fan of Steven Universe if they knew her politics. That they are insinuating that if the rest of the Crewniverse, the people who made Steven Universe, were to know, would they be reacting the same way as the fans? I stated the question, why would they care about the politics if she's doing a creative job as a VA? Are you insinuating that if they knew the personal politics of voice actors, and that they weren't in alignment with the politics of the show creator, that they wouldn't be hired and casted? That's a myriad by itself, bro. That's a myriad by itself. But specifically with the crash out, this one being potentially brought up because this has been going viral on places like TikTok. I've noticed the threads of them. The Charlie Kirkiverse. My Kirk, your Kirk, Charlie Kirk. It has been funny because there have been whiny, narcissistic individuals basically explaining and openly bragging that if they didn't get their way, and if they had it their way, that they would have done really bad things to them. With people outright forgetting that this is the same fandom and the same audience group that brought us not one, but 2 suicide attempts from Zammy. In fact, in one of my notifications, beep, 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 beep. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Here we go. Some users, directly when I asserted this was the case, just dropping the Google recap for them, made entire threads explaining that, yeah, I heard about this too. That's why I said don't harass Dee Dee, just block her and move on. She's a human being too. I hope she doesn't turn out like Fresher Luke, who used to work on the show, but is now a MAGA right-winger. And I have zero sympathies for him, especially since he's been harassing Dana Terrace and Alex Hirsch, which he has zero proof or evidence against them that they're horrible people. He's just lying to provoke and hope that something worse happens to them because they're the reason that he got fired. Fresher Luke is a saint compared to the Steven Universe community, who, as a reminder, have an actual kill count. You can't claim to have moral higher ground when you support and defend a fan base that has committed murder, and Rebecca Sugar, who is a known pedophile and CP artist, which is all connected to that shit from her sketchbook where Ed and Double D were locking lips doing gay shit. Which, by the way, wow. We've taken images in a sketchbook and we've elevated it to known pedophile and CP artist. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like known white supremacist Michael Pondsmith, creator of Cyberpunk 2020. That's a special kind of retard. Okay? That's a special kind of retard. But this is where we're at right now, right? That's what we're at. That is where it's going. That is where this narrative has gone. And I find it really funny because they are digging. You'd think that they'd stop digging after a while, but they are digging. They are digging. If you search Dee Dee right now, let's see here. Ew, get deep throat. Magno Hall. So if you just search this up, you just get a bunch of people going crazy on it right now. Here's one. Dee Dee Magno Hall, the voice of the lesbian Pearl from the Woker cartoon Steven Universe, is MAGA. There were 2 MAGA demons on the cast of Steven Universe? Dog! You know what I want to know? I want to know who's the first one. If we're alleging that they're demons, of course. Who's the other alleged MAGA demon from it at all? Also, another one. She's not dumb. If she was a raging homophobe, she wouldn't have voiced a big gay character in a big gay show, and Sugar wouldn't have hired her. There are also so many other reasons than her being MAGA to explain why she follows them. And of course, many other people have been blasting them for this rhetoric and this logic. But you've got other people getting mad about it. Let's see here. Steven Universe D Magno Hall. You've got the Toon Hive video, or the Toon Hive thread. You've got various versions. Sugalite. Who is the Sugalite? Sugalite. Voice actress. Oh, that's right. I forgot. I'm so sorry. I forgot. Nicki Minaj was a voice actor for the guest character appearance of Sugalite, so they never used Sugalite again because they would have had to pay her money, and they got angry as fuck that that was a whole thing. I forgot. I'm so sorry. I forgot. Here you can see the example of the many jokes that were being told on the platforms. Some which have gotten stale at this point. But as you can see, my Kirk, your Kirk, Charlie Kirk. The Dee Dee Magno Hall situation is so weird because what do you mean you're most famous for voicing the most craziest lesbian in animation history, but you're a Charlie Kirk fan? Generally bizarre, what is going on in her brain? And then plenty of people making the jokes. I want to try to care, but I can't care because it's like I don't know why. And of course, this information has made a lot of memes come out of the works. So you've got the Make America Great Again hat, which I'm just gonna go ahead and wait. Better. We got one in the style that fits. That's going inside the download folder. So we've got the Make America Great Again hat. We've got the Deport Them All version. And there is also a version that I think somebody sent to me that is of her saying, strong borders, strong economy. Can't get any simpler than that, Steven. Mind you, the chuds, air quote, if you want to use that word to describe, normal people on the internet and shitposters. The normal people on the internet, shitposters, have been just mocking this entire travesty the entire time because who cares? But more importantly, the Steven Universe fans have been absolutely ass mad the entire time about this. I gotta say, I don't know if I give a shit. I gotta say, I don't know if I give a shit. The reason why I say that is because She has done nothing wrong. Mind you. She's done nothing wrong. Because this reminds me when Gina Carano basically was deplatformed from her job from Disney over that pronoun shit. It was the same thing in the other direction. Yes, Pearl trying to kill Steven as a baby is indeed canon. As well as plenty of other examples of people trying to cancel somebody over a public opinion had by a public figure. In this situation, there is no actual crime. There's not even a confirmed connection to her having a alleged right-wing philosophy. Nothing about her views, nothing about her ideals, nothing about her character. It's not even on the level of what they tried to do to the wrestler. Her name is slipping my mind. It's the goth one that dresses in black. Where she had, like, reshared what people would have called racist memes or anything. She just follows people on her Instagram. Or followed, in this case. Because, you know, Kirk was murdered. People on Instagram and other platforms. Possibly just for the ability to, like, see and hear the opinions of the people on that other side. Rhea Ripley, thank you. It's not even one of those situations. They're not a scathing meme in sight. And they're just, like, openly stating the fact that, oh, if they knew that this was her politics, they would have never supported the show. They would have never fell in love with this character. You ruined my comfort character. You made me feel things, and now I feel dirty. Type of fucking statements. I swear that I retweeted some of these, or that I stated and shown some of these. I need to go down my timeline and see if I can go find the other ones. Because when I first saw it, I laughed my ass off about it. I gotta go search. Ripley is also a Night Lord Chaos Space Marine fan. Cool. Is this similar of what happened to Scott Cawthon? Scott actually does support the things that he supports, but he's also a religious man. And that's a slightly different situation. Namely, a bunch of leftists that were fans of his content back when the games were basically Glub, Shadow, Sit and Survive concepts, fell in love with the FNAF franchise. And then, around the time of the beginning of the creation of Ultimate Custom Night, and all the things happening from the stealth drop release of what was actually FNAF 6, that was Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. They got really upset that they found out that he gave money to political candidates. And at that time, the very young children that turned out to be very transgender content creators and supporters basically tried to cancel him. Like, different revelations, slightly different circumstances, but same result. You betrayed me, I thought I knew you, I thought I could trust you, and now I'm going to destroy everything I hoped you built type shit. Because that's how the left wing behaves. It's weird. Ah, let me scroll my timer real quick. Because I think the post in question that I'm thinking of, I retweeted rather than took a screen cap of. Like I usually do. For the purposes of crowdsourcing. Looking. Looking. Looking, looking, looking. Did I imagine it? I couldn't have imagined it. Ah, I found the picture that I was describing. Here's the lore accurate pearl that I was describing. I'm trying to show you these other examples of these people crashing out about it. But it might have just been the case that I saw it on my timeline and I didn't save it. It might have been the case. Looking. Ah, here's another one. This one I'm not sure I know who the one on the left is supposed to be. But here's another one. There's another specific one that I very, very clearly remember. It was a person that was like, "You betrayed me," type shit. Looking. This is sort of what I posted the other night. I can't find it. Fuck. Anyways. I'm sure if you go looking on the platform, you'll eventually find the thing in question that I'm talking about. I just can't find the other examples right now, and I don't want to spend time looking because I should have already had it bookmarked. Shame, Carl. Shame. Anyways. Next topic. This one's much easier. It's probably the easiest topic. Looky, loo. Here we go. Boom. So, this one's very simple. Basically, if you're a ball knowledge lover, and you're not retarded, you could have seen this one coming from a mile away, especially if you have been paying attention to what is the vociferous stupidity of ball and gun gamers being retards. But Sony has been experiencing PlayStation Network outages across various different parts of the platform's service. The way that I wrote it down goes a little something like this. Be Sony. Try to fuck the consumer. Get fucked by reality. Lose over $30 a share after a meager $10 increase in the last 28 days over the brand. He is king! And as you can see here, this is connected to the same drama that began with first 500 titles being removed from the platform, then them announcing that they'd be stopping physical creation, then them trying to do a premier deluxe run of primary service disk drive consoles, while still turning the factory over and making it so that they'd create automated lines of digital-only drives, as well as then putting out massive sales pushes for ball and gun game editions for 2027 to basically make people get victimized and forget about what they came for. The outages hit account management, gaming and social, PlayStation Video, the PlayStation Store, and PlayStation Direct. So what that meant was, even if you didn't support the idea, you and everyone else with you got hit massively for the crime of just being a customer of the brand, with not being able to play the games that you have. Put me in my corner. Yeah. Make me bigger. Make my monster grow! Too big. Yeah. So, if you were a customer of the brand, you get fucked in the ass to the tune of not being able to play your games, not being able to access the PlayStation Network, not being able to use the gaming social app features, and not even being able to use your content on another device that did have access to the internet and had access to your account with all your downloadables that you purchased, because that's how shit going full digital is. It's like God came out of the sky and said, "Stop fucking round." It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And then a healthy and hearty fuck Alana Pierce to what she then said on the back end of this problem with the abuse of the content. There have even been some things that have been happening where they've just been lying about the numbers. Ironically enough, Decembro, friend of the channel, actually made a video about this concept. But Alana said the following. Number 1, no amount of petitioning will change Sony's position on physical discs. Number 2, I do not think petitioning and public backlash will work. Number 3, after announcement was made, Sony's stock climbed 7%. Despite all the outrage, it was a significant success. And number 4, I don't think Sony will see consumer spending go down as a result of this. People are financially supportive of this. With the source from Hunter Next Gen Player.
My channel is sponsored by Cook Unity.
Coming directly from the mouth of retardation. It is, in fact, as many people have said, a very you will own nothing and be happy move. Now, here's the part of the story that Alana is not telling you, as I broke it down with that last part of what I said. And for this, Sony stock prices. Sony Group, 6-month time scale, up January, February, March, April, with the biggest pits starting here in May, and then again later in June. An increase around the time in which they made the reports of what they were going to do. Then the beginning of June, when they said they'd stop. Then massive losses, and then the numbers go back up to a median. So, remember the peak. The peak is technically 22. It went as high as about 25, pushing towards an accrued number of 30 on the number. But I think it only gets as high as 22 on this particular graph that they're offering, because they go by dollar amount, not by percentages, except over here where it's down by 8% percentage, with 1.89 over the past 6 months, but it's actually a much bigger dip, because the dip starts before this. But this dip down here, down to about 1932, up back to 21. What happened in this time period to make people basically forget this? Because if this is when they made the announcement of cutting physical, and this is an increase, What caused the increase? Well, don't you worry. That's on my timeline. That's on my timeline. Scroll, 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 scroll. It's on here somewhere. 1 second. Scroll, 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 scroll. Because I know I took the picture of it. It was showing up as a application that basically you couldn't see the tweet. So I know that it's not that one. No, not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. Not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. Not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. Not that one, 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 not that one. Not that one, not that one. Not that one, not that one. Not that one. New. Here we go. So, multiple times in the timeline, you might come across a tweet that comes from this account, Just Xavier's Son. Human No More saw the same image. I retweeted the same thing on my timeline from the same image. This page no longer exists. What was he showing? Well, what that image was basically, boop, bop, all and gun gamers 2027. What it was basically all of the same things you've come to know and expect from the internet when you talk about ball and gun gamers. Specifically, these. It was an image of FIFA, Madden, what was the other one? One of the up-and-coming kinetic narrative games, and Black Ops. That's what those games were. And Halo Evolved. I clicked on the wrong thing. And the Halo Combat Evolved remake, which is absolutely dog shit. Holy! Let's see here. Ball and gun gamer. Let's see if I can get some media posts of it. Any.
Introduce somebody to a game.
Here comes the Black Hokage clip shit, even though I do not want that man and anything he's saying. Nope. Twitter's not helping in this case. But basically, the reason why you saw this points jump right here, the reason for this point jump is literally because of the ball and gun gamers. That's why. I believe these ones are being sold without, digital packages, but that's the reason why. Like, literally, this movement on the graph in terms of the stock prices for the company is because they all bought the fucking games as a pre-order immediately after being told, don't buckle, don't bend, and they buckled. They folded. They folded like fucking laundry. They folded like fucking laundry, bro. Like fucking laundry, bro. Like fucking laundry. I don't know why. Because, see, I don't own a Sony product in my house. I don't own a Sony console. I don't play on PlayStation. I don't ever intend on playing on PlayStation ever again for the rest of my natural born life. Because they're anti-consumer. And I'm not paying $1,000 for an $1,000 brick any more than I'm paying Nintendo for a $500 brick out of the gate, and will not buy a Nintendo brick unless I'm forced to against my will, because there's no world where it's going to be worth it, especially if I don't own my content. and it can be removed from my library at any point in time because the content is not on a physical disc, and the information on that disc is not actually a game, but is an uplink route to a server that then downloads the game to my console. So, I don't know if I have any Sony fans in my audience that have bought into this, but someone, anyone, please, click, don't be afraid of that dial. Touch the dial. Call into the show. Explain to me why you're supporting this shit. I don't know why. Tell me. Please tell me. Please explain to me. I want to understand. I want to know. Please, someone, talk sense of it to me. Because I don't get it. I don't think I can get it. Chat, anyone at all? No, it's okay. So, Sony stock surge with some escalated points, specifically because they are addicted to crack. They're smoking crack. It's crack they're smoking. Then, on top of the crack that they're smoking, I wondered, did somebody archive this? Oh my god. Every time I want to fucking look up an archive. No. Disappointing! Every time that somebody should say something for the specifications of the timeline and making sure that they would stop being normies, consuming normie shit, if you put this alongside all the other things that are coming out from Sony, I don't know what the fuck they really have to offer you guys in terms of monetary resource. I don't know. By no means was I a Sony fanboy. Maybe PS2 Sony, sure, but it's more like my friends played it too, and so have I. There hasn't been an alternative video game retail like GameStop. True! And, like, in my town alone, one of the other malls, the strip mall's doing fine. I think. I don't know. But, the inside mall, back on what used to be the side of the town that I actually lived on, that GameStop already has been cleared out and removed. And I think there's about to be another, like, teenage clothing store in that mall that's about to go too. Like, almost every single retail that I can think of where a person could get games from. The original retro store in town closed entirely. Packed up, went to another town entirely. Several GameStop locations either moving, or EB Game locations moving, and being rolled into an entirely different brand, because EB Games is a brand that is owned by GameStop. GameStop stores closing because that location in question isn't pulling as much business as the other location, and so to consolidate inventory, they're moving everything to one place. And then inside those stores, they always focus on the next, newest, hottest, most brand marketable shit on the platform. So then that shit's getting covered. Completely phasing out retro almost entirely, with the exception of like one display case on the left side of the store in one section, and then having an entire shelf dedicated to Funko Pops. It's the case that I've seen more Sony ponies on the internet than I've ever seen or heard of one inside the audience of any person ever. And not proud about it either. It's like they have a PlayStation, but they use it alongside other platforms. Like, PC is clearly taking ground as the main platform everyone wants to be on. And the news of attempting to make all of the PlayStation exclusives, like Wolverine, be something people have to click in for, I don't see it working out. Not at all. So, like, crack smokers are about to fuck the industry even harder than the industry is getting fucked already. Because we're already in the middle of a crisis. We're already in the middle of a game crash. That's why all these companies have been redirecting where they've been putting their influences in. But, you know, that's just up in the air, I guess. Which then technically brings me to the last thing I prepared to talk about, which is my coverage of SGF. I've done 3 streams at this point. I was going to do a 4th this weekend, but I pushed it back because I learned news and information that mentally disrupted my ability to focus on a broadcast. So I've rescheduled it to Tuesday of this week. After Tuesday, we should be done on Wednesday because Tuesday will be day 4 of my coverage, and then day 5 of my coverage will be the day afterwards. We have 6 of the useless showcases. Well, I want to say useless, but it's like 2 of them are traditionally mid. Another 4 of them are like, who brought this on here except for the activists? And then finally the Xbox Game Showcase and the PC Gamer Showcase for the flagship of SGF, since I did not get to watch it when it was live. That coverage. Is everybody just making roguelike copies now? Is that what's happening now? I don't think I like that. I think I hate it. I think I hate it a lot. Like a lot. Significantly so. Does anybody else feel differently? Because I don't know how I feel. Oh, by the way, I found one of those images I was looking for earlier. This image right here, from the Birdman. This image right here is the Birdman specifically mentioning that he knows and he's not addressing it. So keep that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about the SGF performance this year. It was definitely dog shit. Last night, I did try 33 Immortals. It's like a very stripped down, bare bones, 6-button, isometric ARPG. I am looking. I'm looking at all the platforms. I'm catching up to this platform slowly. Juan is a PlayStation player, and you're very unhappy with Sony's behavior as of late. Well, do you want to call into the show and talk about it? Click. Scroll, click. Scroll. Oh, and here's another article that I forgot to cover. They are premiering a potential PlayStation controller showcase that has no physical buttons, but instead has digital buttons that you can use to relocate where they go on your device. Oh my god. See, you look at it. You just let's just take a just take a second. Just this is a real document. Just take it. Just take it all in. Just take it in for a second. Isn't it beautiful? Just sometimes you just gotta slow down and really think about it. You get one company trying to sue an indie developer to copyright troll them because they want to try and copyright the idea of geometrical shapes in time and space. And then you have a company workshopping how they can nickel and dime you about the very peripheral you need to play the game on. Play, air quote, play the game on that they're making. At this point, why don't you just... Why not just invest in movie theaters, bro? It's so fucking crazy. Reflex wants to call in. Anwan is calling in. Okay. Let's start here. Yes, Reflex, I'm gonna help you.
Alright, so this kind of reminds me of, so I mentioned it there where it's like sometimes industry needs to look at everything to try to fix things. I'm going to be honest, when the PlayStation 5 came out and they were talking about how the controllers have the haptic feedback with its bumpers and its triggers, right? On the controller, and like how it's going to enhance the experience. Outside of a handful of first-party titles, no one fucking used it, and so Sony's trying to look for another avenue to basically reinvent the controller because they want to try and fix the industry. They have this idea where something needs to be different and they need to fix it. This isn't it, like, at all. They're looking 200 to 400 decades in the future of like hard light technology, you know, like the very science fiction of like light is actually a physical object that's also hard that you can like touch and shit. You know that what I'm talking about?
Yes.
That's what they're trying to go to. But like we're so far behind in that level of technology that it's not physically possible, and they're just, with gaming of all things, trying to push that. They're trying to focus in and really bumfuck you in that, because they also want to sell your data because they are collecting your fingerprints. Let's be fucking honest here. They're wanting you to have less of a play feature of literally anything, because the moment they figure out who you are and you said something bad about Sony or fucking anything, they'll turn off your controller. If this is the base controller for PS6, honestly, that is a fucking L. Massive L. I don't know why they're doing this, because we're going back to the, like, how the DualShock 1 didn't have thumbsticks at all. It was just a bare bones, like, flat-chested girl. Like, you know, there's no meat to them. And then, the other element with this controller specifically is they're trying to reinvent touchpads as well. They're gonna have games that are like their first party titles that are gonna be like, okay, focus on like the controller, so like we actually have justification why we like really fucked over the controller. That's one of the biggest problems with the PS5 controller that I've seen, where people have been getting with like massive stick drift, buttons getting sticky, broken, like actual triggers getting broken, fucking battery life too. Fancy pointed out just there. Like this is gonna cost a lot for them, and they're trying to justify everything. And it's like it's too much innovation to the point where it's like, guys, it's fine. We don't need to like fix what isn't broken. Like, I don't get it. Like, even like the PS4 controller, the touchpad like midsection or whatever, I can't think of a single game that actually used it. I can't. The only thing I do know is like Doom 2016, when you were looking at the map, you can use it but that was it. I can't think of anything. It's someone in the chat like someone in the chat point out about like that feature, because remember when they did Astrobot being like the essentially a tech demo for their fucking controller for DualShock 5, like how people were clowning on like they had to blow it in, and then normies fucking bought the game and it became like #1 on Sony's like station, right? Like it just, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what is modern gaming nowadays?
Breathe. Yeah,
all right, that's all I wanted to say. You can bring in Juan.
Okay. If he's ready. I don't know if he's ready.
Oh, he says can't join right now. I didn't notice that.
Well,
okay. So Juan, what do they use with the touchpad? Because I've never fucking heard anyone talk about the touchpad in Bloodborne. Just real quick, yeah. Because like, I can think of gestures, literally just gestures. Okay, yeah. So like nothing. There was nothing for it.
There was maybe 1 time, 2 times in the industry where they've had this experiment and it's failed, and it failed between 2 different companies. The first one was Sony with the Icon from the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 era. This little camera, and it had a stick, and the stick had one of those tracking dots on the end of it, and it was for things like the pop star singing video game.
Mm-hmm.
Then, on the other side of the industry, with Xbox, it was Kinect. Or Kinect. However they described it. The little fucking camera that effectively existed to be used for games that featured gameplay similar, if not clones, to Just Dance.
Yeah. I will give the Kinect this. It did move away from needing, like, the dance pads, because I remember still playing with those as a kid, playing those, like, kind of dance-type games, like the ones with the arrows and the, you know, that. Fuck it, I'll just say old Friday Night Funkin' games, right?
You mean Dance Dance Revolution?
Yeah, Dance Dance Revolution.
Those are different than what I'm describing. Those.
Yeah, I know, but, like, what I was trying to say with the Kinect, at least, like, it tried to, like, have more body movement than just legs, basically.
I remember there being so many cases of people hurting themselves because of the fact that those... The problem with the Kinect is that they wanted it to be a family application in Xbox's attempt to make a killer everything app. Because they saw the Icon, and they saw games that utilize these kind of peripheral technology pieces, alongside other things like the broadband accessibility port added to things like the PlayStation 2 before just allowing for an Ethernet port to be added natively to the design schema from PlayStation 3. And they thought, we're going to add this because it's going to make this even more active. It's very similar to technology that has been incorporated seamlessly into Nintendo. Because if there's one thing you can say about Nintendo is that Nintendo's already tried many of these concepts. We all lived through the era of Wii to Wii U to Nintendo Switch to now Nintendo Switch 2. And every single time they designed the philosophy for it, first it was, we're going to get your family to use the Wii. And the Wii continues to this day to be a wonderful everything machine, in the capacity that it doesn't even need to be jailbroken in order for you to get more out of it, because when you put it inside of a senior center, the justification for all of those wide range of movements and IR camera displays that is just natively to the controller means that the take that I gave on the back end of the Nintendo Treehouse Direct was still accurate. That, yeah, you can have your Nintendo products still be relevant if you're willing to really get good, long, lifetime use out of them, because things like Nintendo Wii Play and Nintendo Wii Sports were powerhouse applications. And all they really did to add to that application, with the exception of the Wii Motion Plus, which was more an application designed for Skyward Sword than it was really any particular first-party products outside of the Zelda franchise, was sports games that utilize these pieces of concept.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. There was the kendo game. There was the archery game. There was Link's crossbow training, is what it's called. But that was for a peripheral that basically allowed you to hold the Wii remote like a bug zapper instead of an actual piece of like power glove like technology. But we lived through that Nintendo era of peripherals and weird concepts, but it was always something additional. And even when they allowed for fighting games to come to the Wii platform with Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, that was when they instituted basically the technology that would become necessary for playing WiiWare games, such as the After Years for Final Fantasy IV, through the Pro Controller. Both ones with the normal rounded Super Famicom design, and then the ones that weren't specifically the GameCube design, made for Smash, because you can't really mention Nintendo without mentioning the GameCube controller for Smash, but specifically the rounded beveled DualShock 5, DualShock 4 designed controller edges with the paddles that sat in your hand so that you could grip it like it was a normal Sony controller. All of those peripherals came from the innovation of everything else because at that point, Sega had already been long since out of the player base, and they just kept iterating on designs of controllers that basically came from Sega devices. If it wasn't a Sega device, it was a device that was made by a Japanese company that worked with Sega on the design philosophy. Because guess who built almost all this technology? Sega. Yep. They've been doing it since they left the console war. And allegedly, with Sony now deciding to commit harakiri and seppuku live in front of everybody after blowing their face clean off in front of them, they potentially may come back with a console sometime within the next 4 years. Don't know if it'll happen, don't know when it'll happen, but that's actually something that has happened. Now, in the Kinetic era, they at least mastered the motion control because the camera would just capture hard light. That's all it did. It captured the negative of the aerospace around where you were so that you could eschew having Dance Dance Revolution pads for these games because they were encroaching on Dance Dance Revolution. You didn't have to worry about hitting footnote steps. You didn't have to worry about Korean and American and Japanese design dance pads for things like Dance Dance Revolution, Mario Mix, or the thousands of different copies that existed during the age of PS1 or the PS2, or that one specific hand controller that existed for the PlayStation 2 era, where you basically were holding a dance pad that was basically a controller in your hand. Revolution control pad. Revolution controller. For the people who are lazy playing the home game, there were versions of it where it looked like a dance pad, and then there was the PlayStation 1 controller.
The other thing was the fucking magic wand of Sony. It was meant to be a direct like competitor to the Wii Remote. I heard they sucked. I heard they actually they're awful.
Yes, in many ways. Like there's a time period where we all came from seeing this gray brick. I don't know who the fuck designed this thing, but it's like going from this to the skit from JonTron doing the Star Wars edition of, it wasn't Just Dance, but it was one of the copies.
It was the game was I believe Star Wars Connect was specifically like the title, but what people like really liked about it was the Just Dance like Star Wars edition like mode from it that everyone fucking memes on because all the like songs were just parodies of like popular songs that were made from like they were just parodies.
That is because they have an in-house studio. For Konami, it's Bamani. For whoever the fuck made those, I don't know who it would have been. But basically, they aren't licensed to make original songs. They can just make parodies based on other things. And you can't own chord progression. So, they just made parodies of those songs. So Trey Songz and Jason Derulo, his particular song, Flying Solo, becomes I'm Han Solo.
Yeah. Fucking love that.
But we long since moved away from that time period because the Kinetic camera was supposed to be designed for a bunch of other shit too. Like the Nuts and Bolts Banjo-Kazooie game and things like that. That was a provincial fucking failure for Xbox, because ultimately, gamers are not mobile people. They like the idea of going to a arcade to play Dance Dance Revolution as a novelty, because everybody's out of shape, and they want to see if the out of shape loser can be able to impress the two girls that they're out on a date with his chud of a friend, as they do the one song that they've practiced since they were fucking 10, knowing that the middle stomp button is broken.
Yep.
We now have entire pads that are designed and made by a company. So Step Mania, Dance Pad, and these things, rather than the kind that are designed for Dance Dance Revolution, are instead dedicated Step Mania machine inputs. You plug them into your computer. They've got a handle support pad on the box in the back, and you can just set it up in your bedroom, and you can play on this. I'll drag this to the screen so people can see it on the side. You just plug this shit into your computer, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. They used to make these for cheap during the time of the early aughts campaigns. In my town, in my university, they had one set up in the student government life room, and I think they still have a ad for it with companies like Brace Yourself Games that make Crypt of the Necrodancer and now Rift of the Necrodancer and all the other spin-off titles from that game that they've made, where they can make these for you for like $10, $15. Not that hard to put together. It's the soldering, it's the wiring, it's the installation. But like, from there to there, that was the innovation that the Kinetic actually inspired. It was such a dog shit product that it made a bunch of individual influencers decide, I'll just build my own device for these games. Because dance games have kind of gone the way of the dodo, because, again, gamers are not active people. Not really. This is a novelty at best. Now, Dance Dance Revolution continues to be a massive selling brand, but that's because the arcades in Japan and China and other places, if they're able to keep them not getting destroyed, like the one in my town, because we have a machine up at what's called the Hollywood Connection, if they can keep it from getting destroyed by insert your favorite slur here of the people who keep deciding to destroy the machine, if they can keep it repaired, they make money on it. There's another business, Stars and Stripes, in my town that basically has this, basically another version of Dave and Buster's. And they make buku money on these, because of course they would. Who wouldn't want to play on Dance Dance Revolution machines? Of course, they have the center stomp button, and they also have omnidirectional movement, so you have to actually use it like a normal omnidirectional pad. But they make money, but the home games don't make money, mainly because Konami as a company decided to step away from the musical side of Bamani, and those games that now exist on those platforms are basically just in a stable by itself. So for the Wii, for example, you have the Hottest Party Edition 1 through 3, and all of those songs come from that studio, from that stable of artists that they use basically to make parodies or licensed songs that they can get for those title tracks. If you upload all those games into a digital reservoir, especially if you use any of the versions that we've shown on the Afro pics that I've played on camera, featuring the gaming Lorax as the guide for you to install them, you could basically get one of those pads. You could even solder it together for yourself, but I probably would tell you to go buy one. $15, $20. Set it up in your family room. Set it up with a laptop that's running the emulator. Connect it to your TV, and you can just play Dance Dance Revolution. Do that at a convention. Charge people money for tries and attempts to beat a high score. You'd make more money than they ever did with the Kinect. Wild that they ever tried it. Not surprising they never tried it again. The last time you saw that technology was literally when they presented that Star Fox mode, or when they presented those different modes on Nintendo Switch Online, where you'll be able to play with your friends and with other people on the internet inside of World Tour. You know, the game, the Mario Kart game that everybody gave up on because they basically got tired of you guys trying to break the game. Yeah, that's the last time you saw that technology. And then they brought it back for the Star Fox 8-man co-op, so that you can become a furry. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. Anyways, anything else?
Well, I was gonna say, if anything, if Juan's ready, he can hop in. I'll leave. Oh, yeah. Bye, chat. Thanks, Carl, for letting me on. Bye.
Goodbye. I'll just click this button and I'll let him be ready whenever he's ready. But yeah, that entire era and period from which this all came from, it's like very weird that they keep trying to redo old technology, because I don't know if actual fans like this. And the content that they're presenting and these ideas that they're presenting for these people, I don't know if Sony knows what the fuck their clientele want. Welcome, Juan.
Hello.
So you...
Sorry for the delay. As part of the supposed clientele, I don't think Sony knows what the fuck I want either. But then again, if Sony was willing to give me what I wanted, they would. The PlayStation 5 would have backwards compatibility. Actual backwards compatibility, not just PS4 games. I'll also be able to play my PS3 games, and maybe the one PS2 game I have. But that's just me feeling a little spicy. And also another thing, you know what kind of discs Sony games use?
I do not.
They use Ultra HD DVDs to hold their games. And you want to know how many gigabytes one of those discs can actually hold at its absolute max?
I do not know.
100. Yes, really. Yeah, it is crazy, and yet nobody seems to know what the fuck to do with that. Nobody uses that. Like you have this really cool piece of technology. You could solve so many storage issues, game preservation. You could even fit entire games into that, like say something like Pragmata, or a majority of Capcom games, because Capcom seems to be the only AAA company that doesn't fucking hate you. But then again, they're Japanese, so there's that. But yeah, as you can tell by the tone of my voice, like even as a Sony customer, I am not happy. I'm not fucking happy at all. I am actually extremely angry, and I've been trying not to get too angry, and then I'm just reminded of all the things that they're doing now, and my blood begins to boil.
Well, I guess I don't know. Do you consider yourself a ball and gun gamer, or do you actually have a pituitary gland?
Hell no. I haven't played a Call of Duty game in years, and I hate the ball games. They're all the same. I'm not even into sports, so what would be the goddamn point? Like the only sports game I have is Wii Sports. That's how much of a ball gamer I am.
Personally, I can understand why some people love the majority of the games that they want to be fans of. I do not get why there are people that care so much about being a ball and gun gamer that they effectively put themselves in this very strange, weird position where they will put ball gun game over everything, and they say, well, if I don't get to have the next Call of Duty, then why even live? Why even breathe? Why does the sun even exist? And I don't understand those people, because I don't see anything actually good about those games on that platform. Especially if mommy and daddy internet are over your shoulder every 5 seconds telling you that you cannot say naughty words on the internet, and then if they catch you, they will just completely vanish your account. I don't get it. I really don't. It's entirely different than...
I hate to break it to you. I don't understand that either. I don't get it either. Like, I used to be a Call of Duty player, admittedly. Yes, I used to be one of those gun gamers, and to some degree, most of the games I play do still have guns, but I'm not sure that's what they're talking about when they call people ball and gun gamers. They mean specifically Call of Duty.
I've seen people on the timeline when I started doing research for the idea before I brought it on camera, meaning that ball and gun gamer is supposed to refer to anything that basically involves that kind of gameplay concept. Basketball, soccer, football, and then gun is just pretty much anything that involves shooting in any capacity. Usually Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, Battlefield. Fortnite also gets included with that number, for obvious reason. Just anything at all that seems like it was designed for like normies who just want to come home and go lose everything in the Lose Everything factory. Which basically is like almost all of them. Basically things like Marathon, and obviously Black Ops. Zombies, I feel, goes into an entirely separate category. Because for most...
yeah, that's a whole other deal.
For most ball and gun gamers, that's the reason why games like Scare Ritual exists, for example. I think I've mentioned it before.
Scare Ritual?
Yes.
I have that game.
Yes. I have mentioned this title on camera before. I'll bring it up on the side for the people who are playing the home game. It is effectively what happens if you take an entirely separate horror game called Made of Scare, and you just made Call of Duty Black Ops into the entire game mode. You don't need to have any main game tie-off for it to be connected to. It's just, it's literally just exactly what is on the surface. Exactly on the surface is what it is. It is Black Ops Zombies. And yes, it has Easter eggs in each map. Like, that I get. Because that is basically that's the nostalgia part of Call of Duty. Everything else around it, that part specifically, I don't understand. Because I can't see, it's not broadcasters, it's not streamers. It's normie people. Normie people are the people who are logging into Warzone. Normie people are the ones that are logging into anything that is a copy of, like, Player Underground Battlefield, like PUBG. They are the ones that are tuning into things like Fortnite no build. Because Fortnite build is an entirely separate problem. Like, those are the ball and gun gamers. Like, the niggas! That's an entirely separate conversation. Black people playing video games is an entirely separate conversation. But the actual demographic wholesale, together, collectively, as the ball and gun gamers, if we accept and we forgive them for wanting to play good zombie games, why do they keep going back to the same fucking sources year and year, again and again? I don't get it.
I think I have some idea. It's comforting. It's reliable. It's, and it's consistent. It may be consistently dog shit, but it's consistent. Like, I mean, Call of Duty, it basically is the same game every year. And that is especially more so the case now than it even was back in the day. Like, because at least back in the day in, like, the Black Ops and Modern Warfare era, the games actually were different if you were playing more than just multiplayer. But now they are just genuinely the same game over and over again, just with new coats of paint. And people like that for some reason.
I think the last time I saw somebody say something about it was the Emma Kagan character from the last Black Ops game, and it's like, that's just a porn star. like that character, and everybody making memes about her. It's basically just a woman who's a porn star.
They make memes.
Yes, they made memes about Emma Kagan. There have been digital artists that made renderings of her 3D model in various sexual scenarios. Like, I expect that from those kinds of people. That's what they do. It's just bizarre that they just went that far to make that shit. Because I keep looking for, like, who asked for this? And I can't find a single fucking person. Ne'er not one. Not a single fucking person who asked for it. So I have to imagine there's something I'm missing.
Yeah, I am just lost as you are in this scenario, because I didn't even know. All I know of Call of Duty recently is that they brought back the first 2 Black Ops games, which, I'm not gonna lie, I almost took the bait. Almost. Because I miss those games. I really do. And Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, they were my shit. They are some of my favorite Call of Duties, and I almost went back to them. But, I decided not to do that.
You don't want to hear the siren song calling your name?
You know, like usually when you answer the siren call, that means death or doom.
Yeah.
Are you not familiar with the old lore? Are you not familiar with the myths?
Well, you see, I was told that the myths from other generations need to be remade for modern audience.
Oh God, don't remind me of the fucking Odyssey.
I have opinions about the Odyssey, but I'm not putting them in today's podcast. But
that's another story for another stream, I suppose.
yes. I, for one, know that there are many ways that you can convince somebody to buy shit. But I know that for fighting games, for example, because this was an entire news story that kind of just went by because, you know, the FGS is a joke. People in the FGS are not a joke, but the entire fighting game community is a joke. The FGC had a tournament that was supposed to run, but I think it was not Summer Games Fest. I think it was Games Done Quick. Realized that the games were hosted by the Saudi Arabian Investment Fund, and they tried to pull away from it, and it got clowned because they had to look into exactly how much money was actually kept and upheld by the investment funds held by Saudi Arabia and Qatar. And much like how Extra Crusher is explaining this, not even blacks, it's mostly people in the Middle East and the Latino population. The Latino population are the ones that are playing the football, because just like Rojas, assuming any of you have watched Ted Lasso, football is life! Football is life! So that explains FIFA, right? Because FIFA still has titles on the PlayStation 2 that were just updated rosters of that year's players in a hacked version of their game. That's how popular the football editions are. I think people have chilled on football in general, so I don't see a lot of Madden players. And as prolifically as the memes about NBA Street and just NBA 2K titles are, those usually explain the majority of most of the Black Caucus. And then, of course, you can't actually forget the WWE. There's a lot of people that love that. I'm certain if Horror was still a part of the community, she'd be one of the first people to tell you about how much time goes into her making her wrestler, just like many other people have put time into it. Just as much as Madry Bread, friend of the channel, has talked about it for himself with pro wrestling, just as much as mutuals of the channel, Christina Tasty, have talked about it themselves. There's a bunch of people in Midland suburbia that are explainers and representations of the majority of the Midwestern audience, and of the casual consumer-based audience that just want to play a good sim game. You know, like, you don't have access to The Sims. There aren't a lot of good God games. So, playing what effectively is a sports simulator is just okay. That is the mid-level fantasy for people who are not addicted to cozy games and Stardew Valley. That is their cozy game. It's like you said, it's comfortable, it's familiar, it's like a girlfriend on a hot night in winter. Like, you just want to snuggle up with them under the blanket and forget that the world exists for about 6 hours on end. And that works. Especially for the Sony demographic. Because that's the only other demographic that they have. Except for, you know, the people who play movie games religiously and then argue about them. I can't think of a single person that is actively playing Insomniac Spider-Man 1 and 2 and the Miles Morales standalone non-stop, because it's like saying that there's somebody who's religiously playing the Arkham series of Batman from Rocksteady, and then all they ever play is Kill the Justice League, instead of just upgrading to the better cousin that's on another platform or on another franchise, which would be Borderlands 4 in this case, since they now have extra content. Now that they're in the phase of the game where they start making DLC, since they're far, far released from the original release of the game out on all major multi-platform platforms.
I am actively cringing at you mentioning Borderlands 4. Ugh.
Like, Borderlands is the current version that normies are willing to play. They're not willing, or rather I should say, now that we will be releasing 0.1 for Path of Exile 1 and 2 coming up in November, December of this year, assuming we don't have another fucking fiasco like we did last year with the release into early access. Now, all those people who have said, oh, I'll play these games when they're launching, I'll play these games on launch, I'm not going to play them in early access, I'll play them on launch. The same way people have made the argument about Palworld, and then said, Palworld didn't double its numbers, triple its numbers, therefore it's a failure. You're going to see the same arguments coming out about titles like that. But those titles, those players are too scared to play because they think they're too complex. So they go to play a version of it that is simpler and less complex to their ability. And that is Borderlands. Borderlands is Diablo 2 for the player who wants to play with a gun. It is Diablo with guns.
Okay, as someone who's playing the first game, I don't know how to feel about that information.
You feel normal, because once you get to DLC 3 with General Knox's Armory, and then you get the chance to experience the rest of the franchise, it kind of just opens itself up to you. But, bringing it back, on the FGC's time, with them revealing and learning that the demographic was basically all secured by Saudi princes that love SNK, and they love everything SNK produces, that they just basically bought a controlling interest in those companies and in those franchises. It kind of brings me to the same pregnant pause that I have to imagine that the Sony player must feel when they are basically being told that you're going to get non-stop slop and you're going to love it and you're going to like it. Like, FBC Firebreak was an absolute failure, so they're releasing Control Resonant. Because Control, being a really decent game, certainly it has more going for it than just yet another version of a kinetic narrative. They bring out what effectively is close enough to bringing back games that people actually played for hours on end, just because the movement was that good, or the mechanics were that good, or the gunplay, or the experience was that good. Which for that would be in not Insidious, Infamous. Namely, Infamous Second Son, because Infamous was a little bit rough around the edges, but Infamous 2 hit the mark. Or the same reason why people are hyped up and incentivized about Assassin's Creed Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag Resynced. What a long and pretentious fucking name. But just like Assassin's Creed 4, they're hyping up the remaster of the game because that was like the titular last Assassin's Creed title before the game stopped being actually fun to play and became a laborious labor to get through. I have to imagine that in those demographics, the people who are just basically saying, oh, they released new 2027 edition of my game, I buy immediately, gimmies, gimmies, gimmies. Do you ever consider yourself one of those people that's, like, happy to be associated with those people?
No. Very much so. No. No. If anything, it's... Sometimes it is a source of shame. Honestly. And honestly, if it weren't for... I swear, the only two things stopping becoming a PC player is money for parts and knowledge. Money and knowledge are the only things stopping me at this. And those, I'm gonna have to wait a bit to. It will happen.
I would say,
I will be done with these people.
I would say when it comes to technology, the information is already on the open internet. It is the Digital Library of Alexandria. And then with everything else, there's literally MasterCard. Like, if you can't find someone who will do it for you, you can probably build it yourself.
Oh, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. Like, no, I want to build it myself. Like, I do want to go through the whole experience of building my own PC. That's like half the fun. Not.
Okay. Make sure we're on the same page.
You know, again, it's just knowledge of like what go together, and also being able to damn parts. Have you seen the RAM price?
Yes, I have seen the RAM prices. I saw the RAM prices at the time in which I built my PC all those years ago. Back at the very, very beginning of the world locking itself down into COVID, as I was waiting on one particular part so I could get what I wanted out of what I wanted to get. It was some shit. It was very, very annoying. And I imagine it's still more annoying now, since you can actively see that they're burning so much money up for half the shit that you want to be able to get money from. It's a level beyond the veil.
Very much so. And unfortunately, the Steam machine didn't quite turn out to be the saving grace that I hoped it would be, because you know they wanted 1,000 and no controller. Fuck off.
I would say when it comes to the Steam machine, I understand why that feels like a failure for lots and lots of people. It feels like an expectation of a failure, because all of that knowledge and data that comes from that is directly connected to how much we as consumers can actually afford for the Steam machine, that is then being directly affected by the RAM prices. Like, because of the AI boom, that is responsible for causing all of the things that we've come to expect to know about the rest of what's available for the marketplace to consume. It is one of those many, many problems that comes from people having their way with whatever they wanted to have their way with. It should definitely be improved. It needs to be improved. Because the alternative is that they just leave it like that forever. I don't think they will. But I do think that they're being lazy as fuck with handling it in their time. So be that what it may. In your case, what do you think...
and greedy.
In your case, what do you think the verdict should be when it comes to that matter?
On what matter? The RAM prices or PlayStation thing?
PlayStation as a collective whole. You as a consumer, you are making decisions based on how they treat you as a customer. What do you think that needs to happen in your mindset as a customer to get you to help them?
Well, there's only two things. Completely reverse their decisions. Bring back the physical game. Bring back the physical games. Stop with the digital button shit and the backwards compatibility and so many crash and burn. At this point, I think they'd rather choose crash and burn because they're not gonna budge. They're not gonna move. Like they are so goddamn greedy when it comes to the games disc thing that it's going to take a complete market crash on their end. They're gonna have to lose significant amount of money for that to happen. And as we can see from the ball and gun gamers, that ain't fucking happening. They're being rewarded for it. And you know who's being punished for it? People like me, the customer. I've been a loyal customer of PlayStation since the PS3. It's not really a pride thing. It's just what I liked. It's what I had. The PlayStation 3 was the first non-Nintendo controller. Yes, I grew up with Nintendo. so yeah, PlayStation was a bit of a revelation for me. And you know, I stuck with it. And it seems that this is the fucking thanks I get. It seems that I'm being punished for my loyalty. For my quiet brand loyalty, and my reward is bullshit.
What do you think should happen in the future? What would you prefer happen to Sony?
Oh, other than the company to completely die at this, or at least for their game development, or for their games company to go back to Japan where they belong, and you know, start making real games instead of movie slop after movie slop after movie slop with hideous characters and just terrible narratives. I swear, like as much as I love the original Last of Us, that game has been a fucking disaster for the games industry. Oh my god. Oh my god. I mean, remember when PlayStation exclusives used to be stuff that was actually cool, like Infamous, the original God of War, or Bloodborne, or hell, even going back all the way to the PS3, Demon Souls, which I actually have both versions of the game, and I can tell.
You got a bit there for the end.
Oh, sorry. Okay, what did I say before I cut off?
I have the original Demon Souls.
Oh, yeah. I actually have both the remake and the original, and I like the original a hell of a lot more. I mean, it doesn't run nearly as well, and yes, there is some jank, but it has soul. And the remake, completely soulless. It may play smoother, it may look prettier, but everything that made Demon Souls special was sucked out of it.
Okay. Well, I thank you for giving me your opinion. Anything else you'd like to say before you leave?
You're welcome for having me.
Thank you. Reading the chat's really cool. It's actually why people do buy the same game with a different year, because they have the current stats for them to enjoy their fantasy sports match. I'm not sure how much I want to look into the Fantasy Sports League. I don't do sports betting. Everybody who knows anything about me knows exactly what my opinion about sports betting is. It is the reason why I hate the Saudi Arabian investment firm. I hate them for different reasons than other people do. There are people there that would complain about them for the fact that they have so much power politically in the world, because those Saudi princes have people that are a part of their caliphates that basically look at what they have bought into as a way to buy bread and circuses for the people to be distracted about what they're doing in the country. Because they will throw a gay off a building just as much as they will hold a pride-based gaming tournament event in Riyadh because it makes a lot of money. As well as, obviously, as Reflex is saying, oil. But some people hate them because they have signed 10-plus year contract deals with entertainment companies such as the Fight Clubs and the UFC and the WWE. I hate them for the reason that they fucked up basically esports as a competitive tier 1 and tier 2 business, because everything is connected to sports betting. It's connected as a way for them to make money and to burn money, while also contractually holding people hostage in a system that basically runs off of banking institutions. Because as long as they have that, the banking institution can do whatever the fuck they want, because they can just deplatform and debank you. You know, different reasons than why they might have closed out the games from Games Done Quick, an organization that's been oppositionally controlled by people who hate the consumer since... When did they ban Bonesaw? When did they start kicking off most of the major publications and major considerates? Since forever? Different reasons, different boats, different floats. But for what it's worth, I hope Sony a happy and healthy getting the fuck out of my country and going back home to Japan. Because they have to. If they want to save the soul of the brand, Sony has to get the offices in Santa Monica out of Santa Monica and take it somewhere else in the United States. Just to change the scenery. Just change the scenery and change the state in which you have settled the office in. And I can promise you most of these problems will disappear overnight. Because these are not choices that are being made by people who are actually pro-consumer. It's being made by people who are trying to keep...
California.
Yes, it's choices being made by a bunch of people that are huffing their farts inside of the Californian hug box. Like, Alana Pierce is an open example of that. But it's not just Alana. It's the people who afforded her position. It's people like Jason Schreier. It's the Schreierite reporters around him that, while almost all of them have been pushed out of their job at places like their former publications because they've been bought up by companies like Valnet that now run places like Polygon and Kotaku, as the same way they run things like Dexterto as basically an AI app HUD for talking points. They haven't lost enough. They haven't suffered enough. The business hasn't suffered enough. Industry hasn't suffered enough. And that gaming crash is already happening. That's why they're trying to pivot towards people with titillation and shit. They want you to take the titillation as proof that they've learned their lesson, but they haven't. But
please, it's gonna take more than ass and titties for me to like. You're gonna have to give me so much my opinion, Sony and games industry. But thanks anyways.
Mm-hmm. I just see it as a sheer failure. A sheer failure on all sides. They should be ashamed of themselves. They have to go to therapy. Minimally. Ooh.
No, they have enough therapy. They need consequences of what they need.
I mean, for them, therapy and repudiation in the marketplace would be being shown exactly how many people don't want to buy their product. That if they have to pick an alternative, they're going to pick an alternative that's worth it. That's at least what I think. Easier said than done, though. Either way. Thank you for calling in. I'm going to read the rest of the chats. And now I'm going to mosey my ass on the way out of here.
Farewell.
Mm-hmm. Alright, reading the chats real quick. I agree completely with Wick here. Sometimes the better graphics kind of suck away the soul. Worst comes to worst, the better graphics can suck out any impact the original scene had. That definitely is the case in the Halo scene. There is a moment inside of the Halo campaign where a person turns a gun on you in the dark and you can't quite see them, and it actually does damage to you when they shoot you. In the scene that they remade for the remaster, the same scene happens, but he points a gun at you, nothing happens, and they drop one of the challenge skulls that has some of the stupid add-on content that they added for it. Curious how the Japanese react to the no more physical announcement. I imagine they don't give a shit, because that doesn't really affect them all that much, because most of them are playing something entirely different. Like PC removed from the question. I'd imagine Nintendo's don't give a shit, because as one of the many people inside of our insular community, I'd say insular in the sense of the fractals, I'm thinking of a sheer Drake here, would say, we are a fragment and a fraction of that number. Because it's not really it's not Japan. It's not Himihon that you have to worry about. It's China. We are no longer the target demographic. We're the testing market for China. So really you gotta ask yourself, what is going on inside the head of NetEase, and have they already started trying to sell you the thing that they're gonna make you get for nickels and dimes? And for that, you'll be okay for a while. Marvel Rivals will keep them occupied for like 2 years, tops. Maybe 5 years, depending on what characters they choose to add. But that hyper-specific, hyper-competitive, hyper-toxic airspace can only remain contained for so long before they bounce off of another game. And at that point, you'd be thinking of how often they're going to play Rivals and Deadlocked. Assuming that, like some content creators I've been noticing from Deadlocked, such as the Smite creators that abandoned it to go to Deadlock, are now returning to Smite 2. Possibly because they might have had a contract, maybe because they're a part of one of the insular Smite League esports teams, compared to one of the Tier 1 to Tier 3 esports teams. If they're anything like some of my content creators that I watch and that I'm mutuals with, like that of Rockaway Carter, or content creators like Whippo, they might have signed on for a Tier 2 team rather than a Tier 1 team. So instead of being on stage, they're going on what in the Premier League for things like football, which is to say soccer, is considered the equivalent of being a part of a sports club, and they're going to help remediate a Tier 2 team to becoming a non-relegated Tier 1 team, which you don't see people doing that because you don't see people in actual gaming resources if their name isn't a part of the Four Horsemen doing that kind of coverage, because esports is a dead concept to the normal consumer. But at the same time, it's like a businessman problem, which that's the next thing that is being covered here. Let's see here. Shooting games like COD and Fortnite are different than just advertisements that you play. Automatically creating a pack for a movie like The Odyssey's days before the movie was released. All the skins, keychains, decals do sell, and they sell well, complete with a military sim and accurate gun game stats and simplistic game core loop, and it sells. Fortnite is double dipping, considering they are already on the Roblox bandwagon and letting you make lobbies for social and lobbies for the same shitty game mode every time. And at the end of the day, ball and gun gamers are customers. And they are solid customer base with the same taste day in and day out. You can be mad at it all you want, but if you're a businessman, I would give the customers that who know what they want and constantly give me money regardless of the slot that I give them, take what they want, then the customer base that will flip-flop on what game they have and will boycott it based on what gays. Yes, I agree. 100%. Because that is like the demographic problem with almost everything, especially those that are in open consumer revolt that don't actually know what they think. They just repeat the talking point of what a content creator told them. You know, the real grifters, like like Empty Signifier, or more specifically, Smash GPT, because it's the consistency issue. It's the gender parity problem. If they have to pick between a 50-50% discourse or selling to what they know makes money, they are going, as businessmen, going to make money. Then, when you strip the ethics question from it, because ethics and morals are a poor man's quality, you have a company that is willing to lie to your face in order to make profits hand and fist over the barrel. That's effectively what they've done with Sony at the stock numbers. It's what Alana Pierce is doing for them, since she's effectively literally an employee of their company. Doesn't matter if she's just a writer for Santa Monica. She is basically doing the fucking... She is waxing the knob for Sony with her statements. So is Jason Schreier when he does his reporting. So is anybody else when they do their reporting. They aren't really listening to the demographic of people who are paying money with the cash in their hand. They aren't. They're not. We know that they're not. Because we can see the name and the narrative happening live on air, live on the internet. I know that I've mostly blocked and or muted most of the accounts that do it. But Grums, retarded, airbagged. I don't think I could say the Carter Dell. The Carter Dell is more a artist, but he's definitely on the left side of things. Wargaming Dad and a bunch of other influencers, left, right, and dead to center, apolitically. All of these different people are basically responsible for why there's always a setback. Because whenever we, and I say we, the demographic of customers, consumers, are winning at something, here they come to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And they just make it about something retarded that they want to beat the drum about, as though it was a targeted campaign made with the consideration and the affirmation of 4chan. Except they're not doing that kind of level gay op shit. It's just, that's just them being idiots. Just upfront and open for whatever it's worth. I can't stand it. I really hate it. But it continues to be relevant because that's what the companies are looking at when they make these decisions. So, it is what it is. Anyways, that's a hard 2 minutes, or 2 hours and 30 minutes. I will be leaving you all now to enjoy the rest of my evening. Should you have any questions, comments, and concerns, do feel free to leave them in the description and or comment box on the bottom of this video. And if there are really burning questions you want to ask me, please do not hesitate. Run, don't walk, to the inside of my Discord server and leave those as questions and comments for me to see in here, or possibly leave them on my page somewhere on my Twitter, or at and DM them at me at CarammelCajun on Twitter. Okay, alright, I will be leaving out the building now. Have a good day, everybody else. And just to reiterate what I said in the first section, do not make me get out of this fucking chair. Do not make me get out of this fucking chair. Leave me in my peace. Don't make me get out of this fucking chair. Same Carl time. Same Carl channel. Alright. If you see me later on today, I am doing something entirely different than this. I don't know if I have to. Nobody's told me if I needed to make an appearance somewhere. I don't think I have to. But Jay has gotten her recording, so if you are watching alongside the Vampire Lestat, look forward to an episode sometime soon. Maybe next week. I don't know. I don't control the speed of the edits. Alright, everybody, goodbye! Goodbye! Goodbye now! Bye-bye! Goodbye.